Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are live for another edition of NASCAR 6 Total Team Control, and we are back with the Busch Series and our Do It for Dale Series Season 9 races to go into crowning a champion on this season, and it is the Busch Series 300 at the California Speedway. About to hit qualifying here today, no practice entering tonight's race. 150 laps, 300 miles will be the scheduled distance. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as we get into tonight's full race live stream realistic commentary coverage. This is going to be an interesting one here today. It's going to be a very fast 2-mile tri-oval. There's going to be a lot of drafting, and I would imagine that the restarts are going to get really crazy as well. This is going to be fun. I can't wait to see how this season's going to play out, both for the Cup Series also, with the regular season, just 2 more races to go there, and even 7 races to go in the Truck Series side of things. 191 points is the separation right now between points leader Clint Bowyer and second place driver in the standings, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Our driver Dale Jr. is coming off a win in the last race. He won the Bristol night race for the Busch Series, a 250 lap event. He led only 35 laps, having to beat Carl Edwards in dramatic fashion, and was able to do so, and now sits himself below 200 points out of first, which is really the first time I'd probably say in at least 15 races I've been within 200 points of the points lead. And obviously Dale Jr. is sitting P2 right now, and he's over 100 points ahead of third, which is J.J. Yaley. Currently going to need help, though, if he's going to want to catch Clint Bowyer, and he's going to have to stay on this hot streak coming into the race. Track position will be vital every race from here on out to the end of the season. So that is why qualifying is going to be important. We're about to qualify right now. Dale Jr. in the Oreo Ridge Chevrolet, and he will be taking 2 laps at the California Speedway after his get up to speed lap to try and set the quick time. Toxic Punk Young Boy, Patrick Shatterley, Jerry Fasnett, Wade Zielinski, and Joel Florek, welcome to the stream. The second race of the season was at the California Speedway, so there is 1 race for the Busch Series so far at this track. Dale Jr. did not have a good setup, was very loose. So trying to make some adjustment changes from what he had in the car the first time to the start of qualifying today. But again, no further practice getting this one started. Going down to the apron at the start-finish line on lap 1. Taking a little shortcut on the opening lap. Probably going to do it again when he works his way back down to the start-finish line this time by as well. Pretty good through turns 1 and 2 so far, though, for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Maybe doesn't quite have the straightaway speed because he's starting to lose a little bit of time down that long back straightaway. Into turns 3 and 4, hooks those left side tires down onto that white line on the apron. Off of turn 4, back to the start-finish line this time. Onto the apron goes Earnhardt. Pole on lap 1 with a 39.663. Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be starting out in front at the California Speedway tonight, and Shane Meal will be starting second. It looks like points leader Clint Bowyer qualified the 5th place position. I know, I did see Carl Edwards blow up when I was talking in practice. We'll see if that has anything to do with what might happen in the race today. I'm sure we'll see some engine failures. I'd be shocked if we didn't, considering this is a bigger oval. We usually see quite a few of them on the big ovals on this game in all 3 series. Furfur Express, welcome into the stream as well. Here we go. Dale Earnhardt Jr. going to lead the field to the green. Could be a potential fuel mileage race today at the California Speedway. We'll have to wait and see. Green flag is in the air. And Earnhardt did not get a great launch off the start. Look at Brian Vickers making an aggressive move going into turns 1 and 2. Junior's 3 wide middle right now, right in front of his rival Clint Bowyer. Brian Vickers goes from 4th to the inside of Shane Meal for the lead through turns 1 and 2. Junior falls back to 3rd, hanging on for dear life into turn 3. Getting those tires down onto the apron, dripping up a little bit. Drives to the inside of Meal, side drafts him. And Brian Vickers from 4th place will lead lap 1. That was an impressive start by Vickers. Junior got caught napping or something there. That was very strange. Junior going to slide up in front of Shane Meal in that 32 car. Meehl looking down to the inside. Not going to quite get there. Dale Jr. now underneath Brian Vickers on lap 2 and turns 3 and 4. Side by side for the lead off the exit of the corner. Earnhardt will lead his first lap of the race. That's 5 bonus points, and he throws a block on Vickers to the outside. 2 different leaders in the first 2 laps of the race. 2 lead changes so far, with the pole sitter not leading lap 1. And Jr. just completely overdrove 1 and 2. Had to get way out of the gas, and Vickers is back in the lead again. And Meehl to the inside for second. Jr. had to lift and keep it off the wall. Back in the draft, though, behind Vickers. Going down the track, trying to side draft the 32 of Shane Meehl. Dale Jr. up the middle. Thought about it at least, but Brian Vickers was able to block just in time, and now into turns 1 and 2, Earnhardt's going to have to try the outside. Meehl and Vickers have been side by side for the lead for 2 corners in a row now. Casey Kane on the inside of J.J. Yaley. Dale Jr. down in front of Kane into 3 and 4, trying to get to the bottom, but Casey Kane drives it in deep. Jr. gets up into Brian Vickers. A little contact between the 2 cars, but they're able to keep control, and that allows Casey Kane to get up to second. Mark DeMars, welcome into the stream. And Shane Meehl now has led a lap. Noah Hall, welcome into the stream. Boyer looking for the lead. Dale Jr. body slams Boyer into turns 1 and 2. And Boyer hits him back, and he nearly wrecks both him and Casey Kane. Oh my goodness. Big save by Dale Jr. He did get into the wall a little bit. Casey Kane kind of straightened Earnhardt's car out. Jr. went to body check Clint Boyer going into turn 3, and Boyer ended up hitting him right back in the middle of the corner and ricocheted Dale Jr. way up the track, and now he's all the way back to 13th. Jr. was just trying to make sure he wasn't going to have a shot to potentially get to the lead and get any bonus points. Jr. drove it in a little too deep in 3 and 4, trying to get some of this time back. Earnhardt has only led 1 lap of the first 6 so far. Jr.'s getting really tight in the dirty air right now, but at the same time, when he clips the apron, trying to get the car lower than everybody else to get some clean air that way, he gets a little too loose. So he's definitely struggling with the handling in this 81 car so far. Today's going to be like California 2013. We'll see. That was a wild race. We might end up acting like Hamlin and Logano there at the end in 3rd place. Might steal it like Kyle Busch did that day. Clint Boyer to the lead off turn 2 and looking to lead his first lap of the race this time by. Yes, this is a 100% race. I don't have any more 50% races on the season. Earnhardt actually stuck all 4 tires down below that white line that time, desperately trying to get around the 116 car in front of him. Little bump draft now through the tri-oval. They lock bumpers pretty perfectly that time. A big block now in the tri-oval by the 116. Looks like he's going to get underneath the Martin Truex Jr. in the 8. Dale Jr. slides clear. Bobby Labonte almost into the wall off turn 2 as Labonte trying to cross Earnhardt back over. Clint Boyer has scored 5 bonus points leading his first lap, starting 5th. And now Bobby Labonte drives it in deep. He gets into Dale Jr. And Labonte is around in the outside wall. And we have our first caution of the day. And that was not Dale Jr.'s fault. Bobby Labonte just overdrove the corner. And he ended up sliding into Earnhardt and then lost control after the contact as well. Got hit from behind by one of the fantasy drivers at the back of the pack as well. So there's caution number 1 tonight at California. Did not take long. A wild start to this one. Wimpy, welcome to the stream. California looked so different before. It did, didn't it? I will say, being there in person, it doesn't look all that different, to be completely honest. I mean, it's the same surface, too. This time period, even to what we have now. Related incident. Yeah, being involved is... I get it wasn't my fault. But these drivers being a little overly aggressive in the early going of the race so far. Clint Boyer kind of retaliated on Dale Jr. before when Jr. was trying to be aggressive on him. I'll cut him a little bit of slack. That's just kind of the rivalry that both those drivers are having to deal with right now. Wilkins19, welcome to the stream, and thanks for that comment, by the way. Greatly appreciate it. We know Dale Jr.'s got a fast race car, as he qualified on the pole. Looks like Kyle Busch is going to take the lead for the first time. I saw Shane Meal had the lead going into turn 1. It seems like Boyer didn't get a great launch off the start. Welcome back to the stream, Corey. Dale Jr. is really just struggling with the handling of his car in traffic. That one lap he had the clean air, he was fine. Once he lost the lead, though, he is very, very much struggling in traffic, and he was probably able to qualify on the pole because he did have nothing but clean air, but right now it is definitely a struggle. Couldn't make any adjustment changes being involved in that last accident as well. Oh, a couple cars get together off turn 2. The tail end of the field. Dale Jr. trying to hook the white line. That time he was able to grip up pretty well and actually drives past a couple race cars. And hops back in the draft of another car down this long front stretch. Still very early in this race. It's going to be anywhere between a 2 to 3 stop race, likely a fuel mileage race today at California, depending on how the cautions play out. We had one yellow already. Bobby Labonte had spun into the outside wall. Dale Jr., although he was relatively able to save it, he ended up having contact in it with Labonte, which is why he had to go back to the rear of the field, trying to make himself through. Now, the difference between trying to do this today and last night at Bristol is I don't think Dale Jr.'s got as good of a race car, especially in traffic. Last night at Bristol, him and Edwards were the two to beat, and late in that race, it was definitely obvious that Dale Jr. had the fastest long-run race car. Maybe he'll have long-run speed today. That might be the only saving grace right now. And he's just going to have to try to give those guys a little bit more room whenever he gets a car underneath him as he slides up in the middle of the corner in this dirty air in the early going. 3 wide right in front of Earnhardt. Earnhardt had a really good run off the exit of turn 3. Contact going into turn 3 that time up ahead. One car got a bit loose. Potentially lost a position. Hops back in line. And now Dale Jr.'s 3 wide. Himself on the front stretch. really talked about Kyle Busch a whole lot this season. I think a large majority of it is because he's actually running in the Cup Series full-time, so I don't think he's ran every Busch race so far this season. But he's trying to get his first Busch Series win of the year. We've had 10 different winners on the Busch Series side, 11 different winners in the Truck Series, and I believe 10 or 11 in the Cup side as well. Junior can really start to feel the rear of the car getting loose. So he goes down onto the apron. He's getting a little too loose there. But if he doesn't do that, he gets really tight in traffic behind another race car. John Hamilton towards the back of the pack right now in this 120 car. In the top 5 in the Truck Series point standings. Now the 120 really blocking Dale Jr. on the back straightaway. Jr. all the way down to the apron, trying to make a pass. And he'll finally get underneath the 120 and make a 3 wide pass through turns 3 and 4. Crowds him just a bit, but they are clear. It was a clean pass. I'm not going to use it in traffic, though. I'm not going to be using the Intimidator button when we're battling this close together. This is a wider racetrack, but you still don't want too many cars around you when you try to make those moves. And it seems like there are a lot of drivers struggling with the handling of their cars, especially in turns 3 and 4. I've seen a lot of drivers get loose on entry, tight in the middle to exit of the corner. 103 car, Dale Jr. just mowed right around on the front stretch. Got a little tight, saw him jump up the racetrack quite a bit. Into turns 1 and 2, Dale Jr. down low underneath the 184. He'll make another pass for 26th. Slowly moving through the field, just hoping everybody out in front of him can race cleanly with one another. Dale Jr. underneath the 152 car into turns 3 and 4. 152 trying to side draft Earnhardt. Earnhardt did not get tight that time, luckily, because he got squeezed. The good news is he's got a lot of drafting help right now. That's why it's so important for him to make these passes following the restart. The field starts to get spaced apart at all. It might be a little bit harder to keep up on pace with the leaders as he loses the draft. Very similar to a super speedway-esque kind of a race, at least on the straightaways, and trying to keep your speed up that way. J.J. Yaley going to take the lead for the first time today. Fake Alex Bowman, Asai and all welcome to the stream as well. Lost count of exactly how many different leaders we've had so far, but we've had quite a few. Boyer's led some laps, Kyle Busch has led laps, J.J. Yaley just led his first lap, Dale Jr. led 1 lap, Shane Neal's led, Brian Vickers led the first lap. I believe that's all the drivers that have led so far in the race already in just 23 laps. And now Jr. gets aero loose. What a save in turns 1 and 2. My goodness. That car was pointed sideways. I thought for a second he was going to back right up the racetrack, and Dale Jr. makes an incredible save in turns 1 and 2 that time. He got really aero loose with the 184 car right in line behind him. 184 never made contact with the rear bumper of Dale Jr., but Jr. just lost it right in the middle of the corner. All the downforce got taken off the rear spoiler. Crazy how quick that snapped around on him, but at this very fast racetrack, at a slide at about 170 miles an hour, Dale Jr. is turning right to go left and made sure he didn't overcorrect it as the car started to straighten itself back out. And the only position he lost in all that was to the 184 car, but unfortunately he's not quite close enough to try and draft off the cars in front of him now. That's the only bummer with that happening. He's going to have to try to get back up to these guys. It's amazing when you're tight and dirty air and in traffic and the car snaps loose on you out of nowhere, how quickly Dale Jr. is able to get that thing going back in the right direction again. So easy to get loose and dirty, well, not so much in dirty air, but get loose with a car tucked under the rear spoiler in the intermediate tracks in this game. And you saw it firsthand right there. Junior with a good run off turn 4. He's going all the way to the apron, middle of the tri-oval. Side by side right in front of him. Trying to get his car to turn back down towards the bottom. He'll get underneath the 184. Door to door off turn 2. Drives away trying to make sure 184 car's not going to side draft him. Clint Boyer, by the way, just got back to the lead a couple laps ago as well. Dale Jr. right back into 23rd again into turns 3 and 4. Haven't seen any engine failures in the first 27 laps. They have gone past lap 50, so the odds of making it on 2 stops today is looking very good for pretty much every driver in the field. Junior's made his way back up at least halfway through the field right now to 21st off turn 4 as he'll get by the 116. Going up to make sure he was going to be clear of the 116. Drafts behind the 135. That pulls him by the 119 car now. Halfway up field, lap 28. Now, I will say we did have 3 caution laps, so maybe it will be still close to a potential 3-stopper. Those caution laps at least helped the fuel strategy. Junior continuously still making moves up to 19th. There's quite a big gap, it looks like, from the top 5 or 6 that have really pulled away from the rest of the field currently. R6, welcome into the stream. Junior up on the outside lane through turns 1 and 2. 135 up there as well. He kept going wider. Junior kept getting tighter and tighter and tighter in the middle of the corner. So for whatever reason, I got locked out of my Google account. So I couldn't upload the stream right away, even though I had everything set up. So I had to wait for my password reset to come in. It was like a half hour before I got the email about my password reset. I don't know if it just timed me out after so long. I don't know how I got just locked out of it. I forgot my well, I didn't get locked out of it. I forgot my password, so I got logged out of it, and then I forgot my password, so I had to end up getting a password reset in order to get it back. And I didn't get the email right away at the time. Nothing too serious, at least. If you started watching the series yesterday, well, you're tuning in late in the season when it's coming down to the wire. What is my password? Yeah, my password is KRC Rocks with an X. All caps. That's not my actual password. That was the first thing that popped in my head. I hurt Blake, yeah. Yeah, Outsider got it. Another big slide right in the middle of the corner. That was just a product of Junior driving it in too deep again. Had the left side tires down below the white line in the middle of 3 and 4, and now that we're over 30 laps into this race, on these tires, it's a little harder to hold that compared to when he had 4 fresh Goodyears right at the start of the run. Just gets to the inside of Brian Vickers, or actually that's Tony Raines in the 33. He's going to side draft Raines as well. Junior driving it in really deep now. Underneath the 12. Well, I guess that's a 39 of Ryan Newman. Gets by him for 14th. Hopping out of line. Underneath Brandon Miller in the 21 car. Junior getting tight. Up the track, into Miller, and into the wall. Miller into the wall as well. Junior back to 18th. That was a pretty good hit. He was sliding up the track and didn't want to lift any extra than what he already did to try and make the corner. And had contact with Miller. Both cars went up the track into the outside wall. Miller probably got the worst of it, but they both lose a handful of positions. And Junior goes from 13th all the way back to 18th. And now he's almost 6 seconds off the lead again. Derek Booth, welcome into the stream as well. Patrick Shadley, welcome into the stream. Yeah, NASCAR Keegan Cup Racing 2025. Keegan to McLaren 2023. They're going to have to figure something out with this 81 car. Try and help the handling. It's super tight in traffic, but then in clean air, or when he does get clean air on the nose of the car, it's too loose. So he's got a car that's too tight in traffic and too loose when he's on his own. Or at least on his own with no car in front of him. Try to find a way to try to counterbalance. Find a happy medium of being too tight or too loose. Just so that way at least Dale Jr. can get the handling down and not risk DNFing in this race, because he's had a couple hits into that outside wall already. Nothing too major. And he had a close call with Bobby Labonte earlier too, and then also obviously had a close call on his own when the 184 got Dale Jr. arrow loose in turns 1 and 2 and had that big slide in the middle of the corner. Not too long after that last restart. It only restart because that is the only caution we've had so far today. Clint Boyer is out in front right now at the California Speedway. Dale Jr. sits behind the 135 car in the 18th place position as he continues to draft behind it. We'll go to Martin Truex Jr. with our first field swap of the race today. Truex currently in the 11th place position. His car feels a lot better than mine. That's probably why he's higher up in the running order right now. They just did everything right, turns 1 and 2, even in traffic. Truex trying to get around Casey Kane in the 79, and he even had those left side tires down below the white line. He'll get around Kane off turn 4 for 10th place, just clear off the exit of the corner. So it looks like the top 4 cars have broken away from the rest of the field. Side-by-side battle right now between Kenny Wallace and I believe that is either Aaron Crocker or Shane Meal. Whoever that is in the white car on the outside has got a bit of a run on the back straightaway off that progressive banking. Can't quite get to the outside of Brian Vickers though. Truex now to the inside of Bobby Labonte. Oh, just got into Shane Meal and squeezed Labonte up into the wall. Truex sandwiched himself between the 19 and the 32. That could have been a disaster. Casey Kane had to check up to keep from running into the back of the 19 of Labonte as well. Yeah, this car's a lot better in handling than mine. Shane Meal pulling off a slide job to get around Brian Vickers. And we'll go back to Dale Earnhardt Jr. this lap. Up to 17th is Dale Jr. He did get around the 135 car. He's got clean air in front of him. Lewis is fast if he can hang on to it. So that's nice. Order Truex direct Boyer. Quarter take of gas right now for Earnhardt. Has to at least get to lap 50, but he really wants to take it as far as possible because we had that one caution earlier, so 3 caution laps were ran. A little bit of contact off turn 2 up there. Not sure what cars that came from. Dale Jr. 6.4 seconds behind Boyer. Boyer trying to match Dale Jr. and wins this season with 8 apiece if he can win today's race at California. It was Carl Edwards who won at Michigan on the last 2-mile racetrack just 2 races ago. Dale Jr. finished 7th in that race. The intermediate tracks, though, is where this 81 team has struggled, so that 7th place finish at Michigan wasn't bad, all things considered. But I'd say the handling here is a lot worse. That was a massive moment off turn 2. A car turned all the way down towards the apron, and now he's got a car on his outside going into turns 3 and 4, the 135. A lot better through 3 and 4 that time for Dale Jr. I mean, he's loose in clean air, and in dirty air, he's way too tight. I just don't feel like there's a whole lot you can do setup-wise. He's going to try to make a change. This car is getting massively loose off turn 2 right now. That is a massive moment again for Dale Jr. Pointing to the inside wall. He's going to lose even more time down the backstretch heading towards turn 3. Trying to easily merge his way on the track, and he overcorrected the car, now into the outside wall. Wow. All the way back to 28th now. Where did the handling go? Right off the exit of turn 2, it just takes a sharp left. And then in turn 3, he entered so low and so awkward into the corner because he had to make his way back up onto the racetrack that he couldn't hold it all the way down there. .2 seconds behind Boyer, back to 28th. Junior lost 10 spots after that loose moment in turns 1 and 2. Trying not to overcorrect the car as it's still getting loose off turn 2. And he overcorrected it in turn 3, just went right into the wall. Luckily there was nobody around him. Now it's getting snappy loose off turn 4 as well. Not as bad as turn 2, but it's not pretty. Nobody has pitted yet. Lap 47. Junior's got to survive on these tires because if he pits too early, he's going to have to pit 3 times. And I guarantee, especially with that caution, we're going to have guys that are going to make it on 2 stops. So he doesn't want to sacrifice the win just trying to get the handling right. Needs to run this out at least a few more laps. A few laps, a long 2-mile oval like California. It's quite a bit. Washing up the racetrack, didn't lift any extra that time. Head side by side traffic in front of him, so it actually kind of helped a little bit. Massive run down towards turn 3. He's going to get blocked. Might be dangerous to try and make a pass with this loose of a race car right now, but he will clear one car cleanly back for 27. And the dirty air definitely tightened him up enough that corner that he was actually able to not lift as much and still carries good speed off the exit. Looking low into turn 3. He is getting squeezed quite a bit. Has to lift to try and keep it off the car on his outside. We've got some cars hitting pit road now off turn 4. Our first takers into the pits. These guys might not be able to make it on 2 stops. Everybody that is pitting right now. Junior going up the track again through turns 1 and 2. He's getting loose. Gets a run off the high side, though, on the back straightaway. Should be able to stay in front of the car that challenged him down low in turns 3 and 4. Into 1 and 2, he's going to wash up a little bit wide. Still stays in front of the car. More cars on pit road again in front of him. Coming to lap 50. Junior get loose. Maybe a little arrow loose that time. Had a car all over his left rear corner panel. 83 car down low. Junior's going to have to enter high into 3 and 4. 83 washing up the track right in front of him after coming out of the pits. Junior gets underneath him. Clint Boyer still out on the track. 50 laps complete at the line for Dale Jr. Slides around the 83. Does have a little bit fresher tires. Junior getting loose again. Up the track, just desperately trying to hang on to the car. Fishtailing down the back straightaway. And again hangs on to the race car. He is going to pit this time. I think he needs to pit this time. My goodness. Still drifting into turns 3 and 4. He stayed out long enough. He's trying to make it into the pits. 70 miles per hour is the pit road speed limit. And he will get down without speeding. Massive adjustments will be made. Gonna drop the air pressure 4 pounds all the way around and gonna put a half a round of wedge into the car to try to help tighten it up just a bit. Dale Jr. is tightening this car up a ton right now. So he went 51 laps on fuel before pitting, though granted 48 of those were under green flag conditions and 3 under a caution. So he's really going to have to stretch out these last 2 runs if he's going to make it on one more stop. But massive adjustments to try and tighten it up, dropping 4 pounds of air pressure, adding a half round of wedge. Martin Truex Jr. is in the pits as well. J.J. Yaley is in. Good Lord. Dale Jr. has fallen all the way back to 42nd after cycling out of the pits. I knew he was going to lose a lot of time. I didn't think he was going to fall all the way this far back to the tail of the field. NASCAR, not Tokyo Drift. Yeah, really. I was just trying to ensure I was going to make it on fuel, guys. It's still going to be close pitting when we did, but there's a lot of drivers that I know for a fact are definitely not going to be able to make it on just 2 stops today. Fresh tires for Dale Jr. We'll see how this is going to work out for him. If we get any cautions, him being at the back of the field, at least he could choose to pit. And it wouldn't hurt him any. Get fresh tires back on the car, but he's going to need these adjustments to be good. He's 24 seconds behind Clint Boyer in 42nd. That is well over half a track and over 1 mile behind the leader, who happens to also be the points leader. Junior does have a bonus point for leading just that one lap today. He led lap 2 after qualifying on the pole, but that was it. You just got to hope that this car's not going to get massively loose at the end of the run again. 3-stop race without question. I don't know about that. For the drivers that pitted before lap 50, definitely, but for Dale Jr., I don't know. I will say, though, Junior did a great job hanging onto the car for all he could. He kept it off the wall all but once when he was getting ridiculously loose, so he doesn't have hardly any damage on the race car. And now he's got fresher tires, it's basically got to drive like a new car. Like they just unloaded it from the hauler. Car looks good now, but we'll loosen up as the run goes. Yeah, exactly. Hopefully it just doesn't loosen up too much. There's still going to be at least one more pit stop, so chance to make more adjustments along the way. Dale Jr. is going to have to get through these cars as quickly as he can to try to fight his way back through the field. Cause a crash, get the field, but no, I can't do that. I mean, I technically could. It'd be cheap, though. I'm not going to do that. Because I'd have to restart at the rear of the field if I cause an accident, but I am at the rear of the field, so I guess there's kind of a loophole there, but I'm not going to exploit that loophole. There is one car out of the race. Considering Junior's in 42nd, I'm not sure who blew an engine. I don't remember seeing anybody blowing smoke. It must have been before the first caution. There's nobody on pit road or in the garage right now. Well, they're in the garage, but it would have been before the yellow. Dale Jr. looking low in the tri-oval. Got a massive run off turn 4. Definitely a lot quicker than the cars at the back of the field right now. Making some passes through turns 1 and 2. Slides up right into the 109. He was on the outside. That was a little too close for comfort for Dale Jr.'s liking. But a hold clear into turns 3 and 4, and he'll try to drive away from the 2 cars he passed on the backstretch of that lap. We're already down to just 96 laps to go at the line, I believe. 97 to go at the line. Doing my math wrong. 93 laps to go. I was way off there. 93 laps to go. The California Speedway currently. See, the thing with tightening the car up, Junior was tight, especially early in the run in dirty air. So as he's trying to pass these cars right now, it's going to be even tighter than what it was before. He is getting blocked majorly by this car in front of him right now, and he got into the back of him in the middle of the corner. Luckily, didn't dump him. Dale Sr. did it back in 1993, Coke 600. What caused a caution that bunched the field back together? I still think it's cheap. I'm not doing it. If I did that, I wouldn't feel right doing it, personally. Even if it is a video game. I just would not feel right doing that. That's some Spingate level shady stuff, especially when you consider that the tight points. Well, it's not super tight right now. Boyer's got an over 1 race lead over second place Dale Jr., but it would be pretty cheap. Boyer's leading a lot of laps right now. He's going to have a good chance to lead the most today. Best thing that Dale Jr. can do is hope that he can win the race, even if Boyer finishes second with the most laps led. Jr. would at least gain 5 points on him. Be better than nothing. Because even with a top 10, it looks like Dale Jr. is going to lose points at this rate. Got held really tightly in turns 3 and 4. Makes a pass, gets underneath another car. Now he's got a little drafting help from the 163 in front of him. On the front stretch, 90 laps to go, and Dale Jr. is in 34th. He's only gained 0.6 of a second in 10 laps over Clint Boyer right now. So he might be a little quicker than him, but he's just so far back. And obviously he's dealing with traffic, and now he just scraped the wall off turn 2, so that's not going to help either. He's going to allow the 86 to nearly get underneath him. Now Junior throwing a block before the 86 gets low enough to get underneath Junior that time. Yoshi Gaming, welcome to the stream. You're watching me while taking your driver's permit test right now. I thought you had to, like... I thought you couldn't be on your phone at all during it. Junior's getting held so tightly in the middle of 1 and 2. And with tightening the car up, he's having a hard time trying to make passes, especially cleanly. And there's a little more contact in the middle of 1 and 2 with the 163 car. He is not getting cut any slack today, because remember, he had a couple of big slides because of contact from other cars in the field at the very beginning of the race. That might have caused those tires to wear out as much as they did. I'm sure he can take better care of the tires this time around. Yeah, Junior down low under the 163 through turns 1 and 2, and he'll make a clean pass for 33rd that time. It does seem like Clint Boyer is one of the drivers who will likely be able to make it on just one more stop as well. That's a great corner through turns 1 and 2 for Dale Jr. Picks up another spot in the 108, and he'll drop behind the 152 on the front stretch. 39.405 that last lap for Dale Jr., one of his quickest laps of the race. 0.3 of a second quicker than Boyer that last lap as well. But in the dirty air behind the 152 car, he goes up the track in turns 1 and 2 as he goes a bit wide. Back in the draft on the back straightaway again. He lost a couple tenths to Boyer in that corner alone. He needs to get underneath this 152, try to find some clean air, and he does get underneath him. Hooks the white line, left side tires down below the apron, and it was good enough to make the clearance. He can't do that later in the run, but he can get away with it. Still only 14 laps on these tires. Yeah, this is going to be an even more incredible comeback compared to Bristol, and it's mainly because we just... If the adjustments Dale Jr. is able to make during that first pit stop is going to be good enough for him to try to get back through this field, that is going to be absolutely amazing. He's got to manage his tires a lot better in this run as well if he's going to want a shot up to 30th. May need a caution to try to bunch this field back up as well, maybe a couple of them. Because we know the restarts can get hectic here at California. Single car accident with Bobby Labonte is the only caution of the day so far. Big block on the backstretch for the car right in front of Dale Jr. Jr. looking all the way up to the outside. Gets blocked there. Backs the corner up to try to get down to the bottom. Get the clean air he needs to make the pass. He was fighting hard on the 107. He didn't want to waste any time behind him. He's up to 29th now. Trying to break the draft into the tri-oval. Down to the apron now. Earl Arnold Jr., welcome into the stream. Driving test is online. What? Is it a practice one at your house, or is it like the real thing? I mean, mine was online too, but... I swear I had to like turn my phone into the BMV when I went to take it or something, so I couldn't cheat. Yeah, overall since coming out of the pits, Earnhardt's only gained 0.9 of a second total. Clint Boyer has just lost the lead, though. Carl Edwards has ran him down, and Edwards was the guy to beat at Michigan on the last 2-mile racetrack, so that'll help Dale Jr. a little bit. And it's early enough in the race that if Edwards can lead quite a few laps to the finish, that he'll have a shot at leading the most laps rather than Bowyer. So Junior's all right with somebody other than Bowyer leading right now, especially for that reason. Again, if you're wondering why Dale Jr. is in 28th right now, he struggled mightily during the first run of the race. Qualified on the pole, but the car was just too edgy. That over the course of the long run, he could not hang on to the race car during that first fuel and tire stint of the day. Into turns 1 and 2, he's got side-by-side cars in front of him. You can really see Dale Jr. going way up the track that time. Constantly hopping out of the throttle, managing the throttle to keep the car from wanting to reach the outside wall. Bowyer battling back with Edwards, led that last lap at the line. Back down into turns 3 and 4 again. Dale Jr. trying to manage the 184, slides wide. Dale Jr. gets around the 83, who might have had to check up on the 184, slid so far up in front of him. Junior getting blocked down into turn 1 now. Trying to back up 1 and 2. Trying to keep the car on the bottom even in the dirty air. Was just able to. Good run now off the exit of the corner and down the back straightaway. Back in the draft. Takes the deep dive into turns 3 and 4. All 4 tires down below the apron that time as he's quickly trying to get around the 56. Got the car to stick. I'm actually kind of surprised that even worked even 20 laps into the run. And Junior's clear for 25th. Side by side right in front of him as well. And as they side draft each other, look at the run Earnhardt is getting as a result. 56 car looking down low. Dale Jr. has to lift. He got caught up in the dirty air. The side by side traffic in front of him. Trying to get back down to the bottom. Carried good momentum though. Down the back straightaway off the exit of turn 2 again. 3 wide middle into turn 3. Junior knows he's much faster than these cars. Side drafting the heck out of the 137. And the 137 ended up in the wall off turn 4, so that costed him time. Side by side in front of Dale Jr. again. Jr. with a run, looking low in the tri-oval. 3 wide into turn 1. Jr. is getting squeezed ever so slightly by the 56 car. Contact up the track he goes. And Junior up to 23rd. Bowyer and Edwards constantly paddling back and forth for the lead at the front of the field. Yeah, those tires are going to wear out quite a bit if Junior makes slides like that. He went all the way down to the apron, about as low as he could go, trying to make the corner, trying to take the shortest way around. Good news is he's got clean air. The bad news is he doesn't have drafting help, so it's kind of a win-lose / lose-lose situation. Once he gets to 22nd, there is not going to be another car in the vicinity of Dale Jr. for quite some time. Not even in the draft in the tri-oval, and he's getting quite a bit of time on the car in front of him. Big dive off the exit of turn 2, looking low on the back straightaway. Car on the outside into turn 3. And we'll be officially halfway home at the start-finish line this time by. We'll have 75 laps complete out of 150. Dale Jr. to 22nd. 23.2 seconds off the lead still. We're going to alternate through the different camera angles for the first time in the race today, as we are halfway home. Potential fuel mileage race at California still, even with the one caution we had earlier for drivers to save a little bit of fuel. Doesn't seem like they've been able to save enough. Really, even if Junior doesn't win at this point, the goal, don't lose too many points to Clint Boyer today, the way his day has gone so far. He's definitely doing a lot better this run and is at least gaining some of those positions back. He was 42nd at the start of the run, and he's up to 22nd. But he's only gained 0.8 of a second total net on Boyer. Brian Rodriguez is saying trivia time in the chat. I'll get to that trivia question here in a little bit. Really trying to focus on... Hit my marks right now. A little bit of a slide. Entered a bit deep into turns 3 and 4. Junior cutting a little bit of that time down since getting into clean air. About 0.3 of a second worth of time. He's about halfway on fuel during the run right now. Matt Kenseth in the lead for the first time today. 5 bonus points. Yeah, missed a lot of Tokyo Drift action. So it looks like Kenseth, Edwards, and Boyer are the 3 drivers all battling for the lead currently. And Junior in clean air is really quick. But I'm sure most drivers in clean air are really quick. Even without the drafting help, it seems to be better that Dale Jr. is running by himself. At least he's able to get a little bit more time back. And knowing that not everybody in front of him is going to make it on one stop, we definitely know he can get some more positions out of that alone. All 4 tires down to the apron that time into turns 3 and 4. He's got to be careful with that, though, because it's wearing the tires out, and he's still got to go about another 20 laps at least before he has to pit. It's so hard not to push as hard as you can when you're in a predicament like this, where you're 191 points out of first, with 9 races to go coming in, and you've had a rough day so far, and things are finally starting to go your way, but the guy leading the points has led a lot of laps and is currently challenging for the lead in the top 3 pretty much all throughout the course of today's race. Junior really trying to get the most out of the car. His crew chief, Tony Erie Jr., has definitely made the correct adjustments, if I do say so, at least with trying to get the handling back in Dale Jr.'s direction. Revolving door of the lead between the 17, 16, and the 2 right now. You wonder if Dale Jr. makes any other adjustments to the car this time around. I don't think you want to tighten it up anymore, knowing he is tight in dirty air. But in clean air, he's not as loose as what he was before. You almost wonder if you loosen it up just a skosh, thinking that maybe there's some room to be gained there, but that'd be a pretty big risk, though, to say the least. So we go back to the far chase cam for now. Net gain of about 1.5 seconds. That's even with the 3-car battle for the lead going on right now. I'll pause it now and try to get that trivia question for you guys. Give me one brief moment. Get the trivia question, then we'll get back to the racing. It's going to be kind of a weird question, but I've quickly gotten my answer. Who is the only driver in NASCAR Xfinity Series history to win at Auto Club in a Pontiac? That is today's trivia question on the channel. There will be a hint. And the hint will be at lap 85 if you don't get the question correct before that. But who is the only driver to win an Xfinity race at Auto Club in a Pontiac? Hint at lap 85. And the answer at lap 90. Yep, in a Pontiac. I think someone might guess it right when I give the hint, but I don't think anybody's going to get it right without the hint. I feel like if you get it right without the hint, you cheated. Especially, it's hard to kind of remember who drove Pontiac in the Cup Series, let alone in the Xfinity Series at that time. Not Johnny Benson, not Hamilton. Assuming you meant Bobby Hamilton by that. I'm not sure who that was that the crew chief said was coming back on the track, but it sounds like somebody who had blown an engine earlier in the day is working their way back out onto the racing surface. That's going to cause some checkups, I'd have to believe, at these high-rated speeds at the, almost said Auto Club Speedway, at the time California Speedway. It's not Chad Little. Okay, so Brian Rodriguez got the question correct. It is Todd Bodine. I'm questioning how he got that, because I did not think anybody was going to get the question right. Todd Bodine is the answer. And the year was 1997. It was the inaugural Xfinity race at Auto Club. That was the only one won by a Pontiac. I was about to give you guys the hint, and he got the question right before I gave you the hint. A little sus, I'm not going to lie. I didn't think anybody was going to get that. Yeah, Brian Rodriguez got it right. First try. By the way, Dale Jr. just made another pass per position. It's up to 21st. 139 car looking to cross him back over. Throwing a block though off turn 4, trying to stay clear. Leaders are just getting into lap traffic for the first time today. More clean air in front of the 81 for the time being. Not really close enough to that car in front of him yet. Really wide, though, through turns 1 and 2 off the exit of the corner. Will we get a caution? And here's the lap car. Oh, Kyle Busch is the lap car. So Busch, who was battling for the lead earlier, is the slow car in the racetrack. 119 and the 81 got by him pretty quickly. 139 got held up a little bit. Gives Dale Jr. a little more breathing room from behind, at least. But in the dirty air, he gets really tight up the track, and it just gets worse and worse as the run carries on because he doesn't have the grip in the tires he did 38 laps ago to try to keep the car on the bottom. Now he got the clean air that time into the corner. The 119 went just a bit wide. Junior's underneath him. Close quarters racing. Junior just lifted a little bit in the middle of the corner. That stalled his momentum off just enough. And the 119 still on the outside on the front stretch trying to side draft the 81's right rear corner panel. Right rear really starting to wear on Dale Jr.'s race car all of a sudden. He is clear of the 119. A little loose off turn 2. Wiggled quite a bit. Stayed in the gas. Throwing a big block now, as he's trying to hold on for the 20th place position. Got a little loose into turns 3 and 4 again. So 139 going to get alongside the 119. That might allow Junior to pull away from these two. Really needs to hope he pulls away because He's starting to get a little loose at this point in the run again. Quarter tank of fuel left in the race car right now. Really good corner through 1 and 2 that time for Junior. He's really tight in the center of turns 1 and 2, but then it just snaps loose right off the exit of the corner. As soon as he gets from the transition from the banking to the flat, car really takes off to the left. Junior's starting to lose just a little bit of time to the leaders again now that the car's starting to get right back into that loose handling once again late in the run. Not nearly as bad as what it was before, though. It's at least manageable right now. Manageable for 20th. I don't know if it'd be manageable if he was out at the front of the field. And he might have wore him off just a little bit too early in the run, but not as bad as what he did last time, so that's why it's not as bad, and that's why he was also able to go a little bit longer before having this loose of a race car. Backed up 1 and 2 really well that time. Car didn't move around a whole lot there. Ethan, welcome into the stream. Left rear starting to wear out a little bit on Dale Jr.'s race car, just as well as the right rear all of a sudden. Trying to get into the draft. I think this is Brandon Miller in 19th, right in front of Dale Jr. Jr. definitely close enough to get a little bit of dirty air. 193 miles an hour on corner entry that time into turns 1 and 2. We're going to take a field pass at the start-finish line this time by. We'll drive as Martin Truex Jr. for about 2 laps. It'll be the final and second field pass of the race. Jr. slides, gets really loose in 3 and 4. He clipped the apron a little too much that time. That's going to wear the tires out quite a bit as well. He's got to run on Miller. But we'll go back to Truex, so we'll let the AI drive as Dale Jr. for at least a couple laps here. Truex pacing pretty well on fuel, still at just a half a tank right now. And he is in the 10th place position, just inside the top 10, but is 13.2 seconds off the lead. Field really spaced apart now. Still amazing how much better Martin Truex Jr.'s car is driving compared to Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car. Truex definitely pacing well enough to be able to make it on one more stop. We'll see just how many more drivers will be able to. Closing in on a slow Kyle Busch. The number 5 car. He's holding up 2 cars on the back straightaway right now. We've got some cars pitting this time by. So we definitely know there's some drivers that are short. Kyle Busch staying high, out of the way. Truex slides his way by Busch quickly. Kenny Wallace into pit from the top 10. That's one driver in the top 10 that pitted that time by, but that was it. Actually, 2 cars did because there was somebody else on pit road that Truex just got by. Truex underneath the 135 into turns 1 and 2. For 7th, door to door with Aaron Crocker off the exit of the corner now for 6th. 135 hops in line down to the bottom. He may be trying to pit this time. Truex sends it. Kind of flatlined it into 3 and 4. Gets the car to stick. He's definitely managing his tires well at this point in the run as well. More cars pitting from inside the top 5. Shane Neal is in. Clint Boyer still on the track, and we'll go back to Dale Earnhardt Jr. Jr. working his way off turn 4 right now. Is on the outside of the 21 of Miller for 17th. Make that 14th with some cars on pit road. So Brandon Miller going to get right back by Dale Jr. Jr. at that wide arc into the corner with being towards the outside. Kind of bum drafting Miller all of a sudden down the back straightaway right now. going to carry a lot of speed into turns 3 and 4 now. Miller to the inside of the 21, or I should say Dale Jr. to the inside of the 21, and Miller. Busch moves up right in front of Miller and Earnhardt. Earnhardt just got the car to turn low without lifting and nearly ran into the left rear corner panel of Busch. Didn't quite happen. Jr. up to 12th right now at lap 98. God. Junior got really loose again off turn 2. He didn't lift any extra that time in the corner, and he thought he was going to hold it, but right off the exit, he got super loose again. I overcorrected it. That's what I did. So it looked like it was going to be fine, and then Junior just overcorrected it, but to keep it off the wall, he had to turn it down to the left, and then it fishtailed on the back straightaway again. No other cars in front of him hit pit road that last time by. Clint Bowyer is into pit at lap 99. That will give the lead to Carl Edwards. So is Bowyer going to have enough fuel to make it on just one more stop to the finish? Car right in front of Dale Jr. just pit. Dale Jr. side drafting with the 139 on the front stretch. That might slow him down a little bit. But he definitely wants the inside into the corner, especially with how loose he is. Doesn't want to be up on the outside lane. He's going to battle by the 139. And in the wall. Ran into from behind as well. Junior getting arrow loose now in the middle of the corner with Brandon Miller behind him. He's pitting. He is going to pit this time. Almost missed pit road. Almost cleaned out into Miller. Trying to get to the pits. Caution's out. He's in. Jeez Louise. I'm going to stay out so I don't go a lap down. Caution is out for Dale Jr. Good Lord. He could not get that car to turn onto pit road. He made a late decision to come down. That didn't help. Caution's out for the second time. Dale Jr. might be a lap down. I'm not entirely sure. I definitely think he lost some positions with that timing of the pit stop. And now with this caution, those guys that were going to be short on fuel at the end can top off, potentially go fuel only. Dale Jr. is definitely coming in. Not everybody. 4 tires and fuel. I know I was the cause of the caution, but I mean, I don't know if I'm a lap down or not. So I'm going to pit for fuel and tires for that reason alone. I have no clue where we're going to be after this. This has to be one of the worst handling cars Dale Jr.'s had all season. It was bad, if I remember correctly, in California earlier this year. And I'd have to go back and watch that race again to see just how bad it was. But it is obviously pretty bad today. We need a new California car in the Busch series. And Junior lost a lot of spots on pit road, it looked like, as well. So we'll see if he's a lap down. And he is a lap down. That's what I was afraid of. So Dale Jr. is going to be a lap down because of that caution. Green flag back in the air. Carl Edwards will restart in the lead. Dale Jr. in 18th. And we have just 46 laps to go at the California Speedway at the time of the restart. Junior up into J.J. Yaley a little bit in turns 1 and 2. There, 4 wide off the exit of turn 2. Just getting around Kyle Busch in the middle, who is holding up the outside lane cars. Get everybody funneling towards the top. There's no way they're going to make it through this restart without a wreck. They are 3 and nearly 4 wide all over the field right now. And I think Dale Jr. is actually on the lead lap. He lined up in the inside lane for whatever reason, but I think Jr. is on the lead lap somehow, so he actually got kind of lucky with the caution. Unfortunately, Clint Boyer's still in the lead. Junior trying to stay extra low off turn 2 just in case there's a stack up on the outside. Continuously 4 wide on the backstretch heading towards turn 3. Couple spots out in front of Dale Jr. Junior clipping the apron in the middle of the corners. He drives it in deep underneath the 152, trying to get it to hold. Just nearly stayed off the 152 car. And now he's in the wall, and they stack up behind Dale Jr. They were 3 wide off the exit of turn 4. There was 1 car squeezed into the wall. And now they're going to be 4 wide into turn 1. Junior making a dive bomb move into the corner. Will he get it to stick? Still 4 wide, middle of the corner as they file out at Fontana. They made it. Junior's going to be 3 wide middle. Looks like going into turn 3 now as he's up to 12th. He's got a car underneath him. Trying to give him as much room as possible as Junior goes way up the track, trying to keep it off the wall. Car in front of him scrapes the wall off turn 4. Junior's got to run in turns 1 and 2, but he's still stuck on the outside lane. He knows the car is going to fade on the long run. Needs to get through these cars as much as he can right now, and he was making some aggressive moves that were actually paying off without contact. Junior needs to get to the bottom. He's trying to lift to get out of line, but because he does that, he loses so much momentum on the long straightaways, especially with the drafting. A little crossover on the 135 to get back to 13th. 3 wide to the bottom goes Earnhardt off turn 4. And we know the leaders are going to catch Kyle Busch repetitively at least a few more times before the end of the race. Dale Jr. has rallied back to 11th. Quite a few drivers that did get trapped a lap down with that caution. I don't know how many are on the lead lap exactly, but quite a few are lap down. 4 wide in the middle of 3 and 4 for about the 3rd or 4th time after the restart. 1 car nearly got squeezed into the wall. I think he just kept it off, and they filed out without any contact that time around. Junior's got a great run, though, in the tri-oval. Again, back in the draft. Trying not to get tight in turns 1 and 2. Really managing the throttle as well as he can, especially with cars on his outside every time he enters in behind another car, which is pretty much inevitable. Junior's got to be careful on the apron. Contact with the 163. He just ran him up into the wall. Oh my goodness. Now they're 3 wide middle. Luckily Junior's back to the bottom lane getting into 3 and 4. He got really tight in the middle of the corner and didn't want to lift. It's getting tight in the dirty air again and just knocked the 135 into the wall now. Junior's getting really tight in the middle of the corner in this dirty air, and he just cannot keep the car from drifting up the track. Sad part is he's battling nothing but lap cars right now. Finally clears the 56. If he could just stay in front of him for a corner, he could try to catch the cars in the clean air. Won't have to worry about dirty air anymore. Drove it in deep into turns 1 and 2, trying to get the car to stick. Leader's about a 1/3 of a lap away from Kyle Busch yet. I'll take a top 10 at this point. This has been brutal. 38 to go. The only thing with pushing hard on the restart Dale Jr. is going to be extraordinarily loose at the end of this race. He's hoping for the best right now. But we know at some point in time this car is not going to be handling well at all. And he's got to be ready for it. It's happened twice already. We know it's going to happen again, but how many laps to go before it actually happens? Clint Boyer leads. Junior still outside the top 10 as he has been most of the day. It's hard to believe he qualified on the pole. Goes to show he's got a good short run car, but on the long run it is way too loose. Tighten it up majorly with a couple adjustments during that first stop. Hasn't made any sense. And it is looking like a two-stopper to the end, and everybody should be able to make it upfield to the end of the race with the timing of that second and most recent yellow we had. Junior all 4 tires down onto the apron that time, entering into 3 and 4. Massive run to the inside of the 39 of Ryan Newman. This is for 10th. Junior had the car stick that time. Caution's out. Caution is out. Trouble off turn 4. This will bunch the field up right before the leaders are about to catch Kyle Busch. We've got a wreck at the back of the field. A couple cars get turned in the middle. They'll slide through the middle of the front stretch. It looked like it was right off the exit turn 4. They were probably 3 and nearly 4 wide again back there, and they did not make it that time. Caution help or hurt Junior. Well, it's less laps we'd have to run. Dale Jr. is going to pit here. This is an interesting call, but he is going to pit for 4 tires. He'll top off on fuel. We imagine he was probably going to be good to the end. He does have 2 sets of tires left to the end of the race. He's going to use 1 right now. So he is going to go off strategy. I'm not sure how many cars are lapped down, but I imagine there is quite a few lapped down still. But by pitting now, that's less he has to worry about his car being ridiculously loose at the end of the race. So he is giving up track position while he was in 11th. But the hope is that the fresh tires will hopefully prevail. And I don't see any other cars on pit road other than Dale Jr. right now. He is the only one that's going to take 4 tires. Topping off on fuel just to be safe as well. Stress, welcome into the stream. I think the caution will help in the sense of the handling because Junior's going to have fresh tires again. Now, his tires weren't fading because we were only about a dozen laps on the tires that time. Green flag back in the air. And Junior's in 20th, so he lost 9 positions, and he's got a lot more lap cars to pass versus before, considering half the field is about a lap down, the other half is on the lead lap. Decent restart that time for Dale Jr. into turns 1 and 2. Oh, contact already in the middle of the corner. Junior gets squeezed. He's backing out of the gas, middle of the backstretch right now, trying to get back down to the bottom lane, where they're again 3 wide. We just saw a wreck when they were 4 wide off turn 4 before. A little contact. A couple cars get shuffled wide. So only 32 laps to go on the restart. 4 wide into turn 1. Junior to the bottom. He's getting tight. Contact. Oh, man, we've got a big wreck. Big wreck. 1 car in the air. Oh, my goodness. Junior went 4 wide to the bottom, and he wrecked the 3 cars above him, and the 137 goes airborne. I don't think he was the one that caught the big-time air, but... Oh, wow, it was actually the other car that pinwheeled. The 137 clipped somebody into the outside wall. It looked like the 113 ended up airborne on his nose. And that is now our 4th caution of the day. And Junior brought out the yellow, so he's going to have to restart behind everybody else again. That was almost... Now, obviously, the style of wreck with the near flip wasn't the same, but that was kind of what Ty Majeski did in the truck race at Nashville a few weeks ago, or about a month ago, when he tried to go 4 wide into one of the corners and wrecked the 3 trucks to his outside, and he survived. That was kind of the case of what happened there. Should have been a red flag. Yeah, 1 car on his nose, came back down on all 4. He didn't flip. What, about 6 or 7 cars involved in that? About 4 of them into the outside wall pretty hard. And 1 catching air. Edwards still in the lead for the restart. Seems like the leader in the restarts has kind of been a sitting duck, at least before the lap traffic on the bottom. That's less laps for Dale Jr. to try to get through the field now, unfortunately, but it's also less laps he has to run on this set of tires. Green flag back in the air again. And there are a lot of cars with damage. We may see some debris caution, so that might actually be even worse for Dale Jr. as he got up into Vickers on the restart. Doesn't want to lose the bottom this time. He is going to get around Vickers, though. Dale Jr. is in 20th. All 4 tires down on the apron that time through 3 and 4. One car has got major problems on the back of his race car. That was a car that went airborne. He's still in it. I think he's lucky he landed back on all 4 tires. Jr. getting blocked middle of the trial, but will hop back in the draft. He's 2 seconds off the lead, but there are a lot of cars between him and the leader. 3 by 3 into turns 1 and 2 again. Another wild Fontana restart, I'd have to assume. Off the exit of the corner. No stack up that time. Oh, well, hang on. There's a block. I don't know who that was that threw a block in the middle of the back straightaway, but that kind of caused a couple cars to check up in that middle. The bottom. Oh, no, we're going to have another big wreck, and Junior's involved this time. One car moved up right in front of him in the middle of the corner, and that wiped out Kenny Wallace and Dale Jr. 137 got hooked on the front bumper, and there was another wreck involving about a half a dozen cars. Good grief. It didn't look like Dale Jr. turned down. It looked like the field kind of moved up, and Dale Jr. was obviously caught up in it. That one wasn't as big as the wreck before that, but it was decent size. We're probably going to have about 20 to go in the restart. I would not doubt we're going to see some debris cautions with these big wrecks. And this is all of a sudden costing Junior. And I'm kind of wishing I didn't pit for tires to put myself back in traffic, because I did not realize that we were going to have cautions breeding cautions. And we've had literally 3 wrecks, 2 of which Dale Jr. kind of either started or was in the middle of, since being at the back of the pack now. After pitting during the first accident when he drove his way up to 11th. Put the car in the garage, yeah, really. We need points. That one was not my fault necessarily. It looked like the 130. I mean, I'd have to go back. Maybe I moved down a little bit, but it looked like the 137 moved up. Green flag back in the air. And we have 22 laps to go in the restart. Junior did not take off well in the restart that time. Martin Truex Jr. to the lead on the restart as he has passed Carl. Well, there goes the deck lid off the car right in front of Dale Jr., and luckily the debris flew up over his car. And we've got another caution. I think that very last car in line ran over the debris. And now we'll have less than 20 to go on the restart following caution number 6. Somebody mentioned a stream or 2 ago about the deck lid potentially not flying off of the cars in the game, and one just did there. Luckily it flew over Junior. Junior's got 1 set of tires left. He's at the back of the pack. He'll pit. He'll take tires again. They're going to make some adjustments on this race car. He's going to get risky with it, but they're going to actually make a big-time adjustment here. And he's going to go back to the setup he had at the start of the day when he qualified on the pole, because he'll only have to go less than 20 laps. So they're going to take the half a round of wedge out of the car, and they're going to put the 4 pounds of air pressure back in. The exact same setup he had at the start of the race, but he has to go less than 20 laps. So they're trying to loosen this bad boy up. It's going to be edgy. But he's also going to have fresher tires again. He's probably, I mean, if you exclude the caution laps, he's probably only going to have about 15 lap fresher tires than everybody else. But it's better than nothing. And this is his final set of tires as well. Oh, and me already. Oh my goodness. Green flag back in the air. Junior in 21st. His teammate Martin Truex Jr. is the leader on the restart. Dale trying to get in front of Kyle Busch, who's down a cylinder. Caution. Again, debris. I would have to imagine. Didn't even get a chance to get up to speed. And it's off the 117 car. 7th caution of the race if I haven't lost count. I didn't even see the debris actually fly off, both before the... Junior can't pit for fuel or tires. Martin Truex Jr. might win this race for Chance 2 Motorsports. He's in the top 5 in points. Green flag back in the air, 14 to go. Kyle Busch got a good launch that time. Oh, one car in the wall. Matt Kenseth. Right in the middle of the corner. I don't know if he had contact. I would imagine he probably did, considering the field wasn't up to speed yet. We stay green. As the field just got scattered big time on the backstretch after Kenseth went into the wall. One car squeezes Dale Jr. down the track. Jr. saves it, and he loses more time. He was underneath that car, and that car just chopped him off going into the corner. $15-lap fresher tires. Junior knows he's faster than at least a lot of the cars mid-pack and at the back of the field. 3 and 4 wide off the exit of turn 2. I mean, this race has been aggressive from the start. We got one car blowing up in the middle of the pack right now. They're 5 wide at the rear of the field. There's contact. One car in the wall. Oh, my goodness. Oh, we got more contact off turn 4. They're stacking up all over the place. Junior's got a massive run into the tri-oval as a result. Goodness gracious. Had like 2 or 3 cars on the wall at different points in turns 1 and 2. Allows Junior to catch the back of the pack much quicker after he nearly got wrecked on the opening lap after the restart. The leaders will catch Kyle Busch before the end if it does stay green. They'll be coming to 11 to go this time. Junior on the bottom into 3. Almost got chopped off again. Kenny Walsh is underneath Dale Jr. and he is mad at Dale Jr. even though it wasn't Jr.'s fault. That wreck that both himself and Kenny Walsh were both involved in. As on the 137 car moved across the front bumper of both of them. Jr. still being a little tight in dirty air. Not as tight with the adjustment change, of course. Deep dive into turns 3 and 4. Junior actually got the car to stick that time. Big time risk. And he gains at least 1 position, passes a couple other lap cars as well in the middle of it. 9 laps to go for Carl Edwards, who leads this race. 10 laps to go. Junior 3 wide on the bottom. 4 wide, trouble, turn 2, 1 car gets loose. Saved it even with contact. He got squeezed, but they were 4 wide with nowhere else to go. Stacked up a couple more cars for Junior to actually get some positions out of it, and he's up to 16th. Junior extremely low off turn 4, desperately trying to get around the 139 cars, repeatedly blocking him. 9 laps to go. Junior tight in the dirty air. This is ridiculous no matter how loose the car is. The car moves up the track in traffic. I think the frustration settling in late in this race. This is just a race that has not gone Dale Jr.'s way at all from the get-go. All the cars he's passing 3 wide, corner after corner, most of them are lap cars. They're not even for position. 8 to go. If we do get another caution, there will be no lap cars on the inside of the lead lap cars the next time. Junior on 15 lap fresher tires on the rest of the field right now, desperately trying to get into traffic. Car moves way up the track in the middle of the corner again in dirty air. Almost lost the bottom lane that time. He will get underneath the 56. This 139 has been blocking Dale Jr. for about 3 laps in a row now. Jr. desperately trying to look low. They're 4 wide going into turn 1. Jr. finally gets underneath him. 4 wide in the middle of the corner. Jr. passes all 3 of them for position. He's up to 13th. He doesn't take off well in the restart, so I don't think he wants to see a caution either. I thought the field was going to catch Kyle Busch before the end. Maybe they won't. Oh, Brandon Miller got tight. He goes up the track. Jr. does too, though. He wasn't directly in line behind the 10 of Michael Jourdain Jr., but he was close enough, and now the 139's right back underneath him for a spot. Clearing Jr. for position into turns 1 and 2. Jr. trying to really back it up in the middle of the corner. He's still moving up the track, though, and just loses a little bit of time. How many spots has Boyer lost from these late race restarts? Or does he even still have a shot at the win, as he battled with Kenseth and Edwards for a large majority of the race for the lead before all these late yellows? Yeah, the leaders will catch Kyle Busch. 5 laps to go. Busch is only about half a straightaway ahead of him. It's going to get hectic all the way through the field in the process of them trying to pass the 5 car. 139 with a run into turns 1 and 2. Jr. almost got into him. Had to try to go as low as he could to try to get as much clean air as possible. Got tight in the middle of the corner when he finally got under... I should say got to the bottom of him. He does get around Newman, but Newman also a lap down, so that wasn't actually for a spot. Dale Jr. with the deep dive into 3 and 4. Got loose, got into the 139. Definitely overdrove the corner that time. He was doing everything he could to get underneath him, though. They'll be side by side into turn 1. I see Kyle Busch on the outside. Top 3 have gotten around him. 4th on back still have to get around him. Cars are getting scattered all over the place. Down the back straightaway, everybody's moving out of the way with the field closing in on Busch. Clint Boyer, by the way, just passed Carl Edwards for the lead. 1 car goes up the track. That was Michael Jourdain Jr. right in the middle of turns 3 and 4. Jr. all the way down on the apron. 139 going up the middle. Jr. slides around. Got around Busch, but he lost a spot still, and Yaley gets around him. Jr. back to 15th. I think he just has to face it. He just does not have the car today. I'm regretting pitting, though, too. I wish I just would have... I didn't... Yaley is... There was no room for Junior to make that corner. With contact with Yaley. Junior going a bit wide, trying to side draft the 139. He's going to be 3 wide middle. Contact with Yaley off turn 4. That costed Junior's momentum in the middle of the front stretch. Hangs on to 14th, but can't quite get to 13th. Got a little loose. Up the track, into the wall, and Junior's around. Big wreck off turn 2. Massive pile up. Wiggled. Lost control. Got into the car above him. And both into the outside wall and nowhere to go for the cars that were further back in the field. That might end the race. Junior's going to stay out of the pits in case it does end the race. There was only 2 laps left when the caution flag came out. And maybe it won't end the race. It's tough to tell for... Yeah, checkered flag's in the air. It did. Race is over with that last caution. 13th for Dale Jr. Clint Boyer is going to get the win. Took the lead right before the caution came out. About a lap or so beforehand. And that is the 8th win of the season for Clint Boyer. And he also gets the most laps led, so it's a max points day for Boyer. 87 laps led out of 150 to win the race. Carl Edwards finishes second, 27 laps led. Truex lost the lead on those last couple restarts, still finished third. He also led 15 laps. Case Kane didn't lead any laps, finishes in fourth. Shane Meal rounds out the top 5. John Hamilton finishes in 6th. Matt Kenseth 7th. Aaron Crocker 8th. Tony Raines 9th. Bobby Labonte rounds out the top 10. Dale Jr. 13th with 1 lap led, just enough to get 5 bonus points. Good thing he qualified in the pole to at least get the lap led, but he just did not have the car today. I mean, it's unbelievable how bad that car drove pretty much from start of the race to finish. It was good for the moments I had clean air when the field was really spaced out after that first pit stop for about 35 laps until the tires gave way again. 8 cautions for 22 caution laps, one that ended the race under yellow. 27 lead changes, 0.2 of a second. Well, I guess the margin of victory was under caution anyway. 2 hours, 28 minutes to get a 300-mile race in. See who all DNF'd in this race. 21 cars finished on the lead lap. And Mark Martin, Kyle Busch finished the race, but many laps down after leading 9 laps earlier on. Ferris DNF. So even with the 8 yellows and all the big wrecks, only 2 drivers actually DNF'd, and 1 came back into the race, which was Busch late. 121.59 miles an hour is the average race speed. Well, now it's time to check the point standings. LGBT NASCAR fan, welcome to the stream. Well, the good news is the next race is at Richmond, and Dale Jr. won at Richmond earlier this season. The hot streak for Dale Jr. has just come to an end. After finishing 13th tonight at California, he had 7 straight finishes of 7th or better, and 5 top 5s in the last 7 races until tonight, finishing 13th. That is his worst finish in the last 7 races. So albeit, I mean, it's still super hot streak. But doesn't need to finish 13th this late in the season, though. Clint Boyer also gets his 8th win, which ties Dale Jr. for the most wins again on the season, going into Richmond. I can't wait for Richmond because I want redemption after tonight. We need to get this car situated before the Cup race this weekend, too, at California. I mean, Junior's still second in points. Truex finishes third. He is up to third in points, gaining 2 spots today on Yaley and Meal. So Boyer trying to hold back both the Chance 2 Motorsport drivers. So Junior didn't lose any spots, but he went from 191 out of first to now 252 out of first. So lost exactly 61 points to Boyer today. And we have just 8 races to go to make up 252 points. Billy Carjo, I see you in the chat now. I try to shout you guys out when I can, but we had a lot of action going on there at the end. Oscar Ramirez Herrera, thanks for tuning in. Man, that was wild. I honestly feel like running Richmond now because I want redemption so bad, but I can't because it's already 8:20. That race took quite a bit longer than what I expected with all the cautions. I kind of imagined we weren't going to run 2 races tonight anyway. I'll probably end up scheduling a doubleheader at some point with the Busch and the Truck Series or something like that sometime soon. Get towards the end of the season, but it won't be tonight. Yeah, 252 points. 8 races to go. Got Richmond and Dover, and I remember Dover. Dover's my worst track on this game. California was bad tonight, but Dover's my worst track on this game of all the tracks we have been to. Which I'm pretty sure I've been to every track in this game now. Some of them I haven't ran at in certain series. Dover's going to be a gutted out kind of race, kind of like California was, honestly. If I can even come up with 13th, I'd be lucky. So we need to go big at Richmond because that's definitely going to be a good shot to win. I want to look up the schedule real quick to see what races we have left. I'll have to Google it. 2005 NASCAR Busch Series schedule. Now, if there's any fantasy tracks left at the end of the year, I won't know for sure. Okay, so 8 races to go in the Busch Series. We've got Richmond, and then we have Dover. After Dover, we go to Kansas, then Charlotte, and then we have a fantasy track at some point because NASCAR in real life for the Busch Series is at Memphis after Charlotte. So we have one more fantasy track. Texas, Phoenix, and then Homestead are the final 8 races. So we know 7 of the 8 races remaining. I'm not sure exactly what fantasy track we'll end up running. Pretty sure we've ran at every of them once, so it's probably going to be a track we've already ran this year. And the finishes at all those tracks I had from earlier in the season of the ones we have left, even though I didn't run particularly well at Dover, I actually had a good finish. I ended up finishing 6th in the Busch Series. Not so much in the truck and the Cup side, but in the Busch Series I finished 6th. So at least we have that going for us. Maybe it won't be as bad in the Busch side. Still 200 laps, though. We'll see. So finished 6th at Dover. Richmond I won. Led 199 of 250 laps. Charlotte, I finished 6th in the Busch Series. Kansas, we have not raced at yet, so that is actually going to be a new track. I think I raced at Kansas in the Truck Series, but I haven't raced there in the Cup or Busch Series yet. So it'll be the first time for the Busch Series at Kansas. Phoenix, Phoenix, I finished 7th. Homestead will be a first. Texas, I finished 9th earlier this year. So all these tracks that we have been at, that we still have left on the schedule for a second time this year, it looks like I finished in the top 10. And in a couple cases I did win. It gives me a little more confidence. I don't win a lot on the intermediates, but I actually get decent finishes. I say I'm bad on the intermediates on this game. I'm not bad on the intermediates on this game. I mean, tonight was bad, but outside of tonight, though, on the intermediates this season, I finished 36th at California, 13th. Both the California races. Get California off the Busch Series schedule for my sake. Jeez Louise. Did not go well for me. I didn't have a good handling car the first time. Didn't have a good handling car the second time. Las Vegas, 40th. Luckily, I only have to run Las Vegas once. Atlanta, 17th. I guess now I'm reading these off. I guess I did have bad finishes at intermediates. After that, I don't think I had another bad finish on an intermediate, though. 9th at Texas. Phoenix is a short track, 7th. 6th at Charlotte. Dover's kind of a short track, 6th. Chicagoland 30th. I guess that wasn't good. Loudon kind of races like a short track. That was 1st. Michigan 7th. It's kind of hit or miss, I guess. Man. Any more super speedways? No. In the Cup Series, yes. I still have to run Talladega in the Chase. But no Busch or Truck Series races at Talladega the rest of the year. There's none on the schedule at all for the trucks in 2005. They didn't go there till 06 for the first time. And then the Busch Series, they only raced there once at the time. Not like they do now. I mean, I'll take a 13th. It just stinks with Boyer literally getting a max points day. The one bad race we have in the last 8 races, and bad meaning led a lap, finished 13th. 5 bonus points, finished 13th. That's our bad race in the last 8 races. Even the laps led in recent races. 62 at Bristol. I guess I only had 1 at Michigan. I finished 7th. I only had 2 at Watkins Glen, but I did win. Didn't lead a lap at IRP, but I finished 5th. Old Spice Speedway, I won. Led 126 laps. 1 at the UPS Speedway, led 257 of 350. 1 at New Hampshire, led 178 of 200. Chicagoland, led 36. No laps led at Daytona, 163 led at Milwaukee. 11 at Levi Strauss, 300 at Dodge Raceway, 91 at Dover, 5 at Charlotte, 199 at Richmond, 21 at Darlington. And then at the very beginning of the year, I didn't lead a lot of laps, so that was kind of pretty much in those first 11 races. I don't think I led a combined 100 laps, but after that, though, I mean, I'm starting to lead a lot more laps, and that's when that hot streak really started. Since the 12th race of the year at Richmond, I finished 1st, then 6th, 6th, 1st, 3rd, 1st. And then I had a 39th at Daytona. I haven't been good at the super speedways on this game. So 39th at Daytona, 30th at Chicagoland, then back to 1st, 7th, 1st, 5th, 1st, 7th, 1st, and now 13th. So, I mean, we have gone on a hot streak. It was just that very start of the season was why I fell so far behind in points. The start of the year, 37th at Daytona, 36th at California. I won UPS Speedway. That was the only shining moment. Then I finished 40th at Vegas, 17th at Atlanta, 10th at Mr. Clean Speedway. That was all right. Then 42nd at Bristol. 9th at Texas, 7th at Phoenix. I thought I was going to start picking it back around, but then I ended up 25th at Talladega, 13th at Darlington. So it was just the start of the year, but yeah, once we got to race 12 at Richmond and I finally got that second win and ended like a 10-race losing skid, I started to rattle off, obviously, 7 wins in the last 16 races, but not only the 7 wins in the last 16, just the consistency since then has been up, and that's why we're second in points is consistency. But Boyer just doesn't have any off weeks. He DNF'd twice, and outside of the 2 DNFs, I can't recall that he's finished many races outside the top 10. Do a doubleheader Saturday with Cup. I'm not going to do a doubleheader with a Cup race, because the Cup races take like 2.5 to 3 hours. And California's a 500-miler too, so I'm not going to be doing it on Saturday. I'll figure it out. Tomorrow's live stream might change. As of right now, it's scheduled to be a NASCAR 21 Ignition online lobby, but that might change. Tomorrow is my birthday. I am going out for a birthday dinner, so I'm not sure exactly what time yet or when I'll be home. I don't even know where we're going yet either. So as soon as I find out the details on that, I'll put something in the community tab for start time for tomorrow's stream. But I'm not sure what time or what it will be. If I do end up running a race, it's going to be NASCAR 06, and it's likely going to be this Busch Series race at Richmond. But we'll see. Boyer's on a hot streak right now, yeah. Okay, so before I go, this is what Clint Boyer has done. Now, only in the Cup Series I keep track of everybody with top 5s and top 10s. I didn't do it for the Busch or the Truck Series. So I don't know where he finished in the races that he didn't win. But Clint Boyer would have won today at California. Then Junior won at Bristol. Then Edwards won at Michigan. Then Junior won at Watkins Glen. Yaley had a win at IRP. Dale Jr. had a win at Old Spice Speedway. But then Clint Boyer had 7 wins in the first 21 races. And it took him another 6 races to get his 8th. But what a hot streak he was on. He won at UPS Speedway. 2 races before that he won at Chicagoland. Race before that he won at Daytona. Then he had 3 races before his last win, which was Dover. Then won the race before that at Lowe's, so he went back-to-back twice. Then he had 6 races before he went at the Mr. Clean Speedway. He and Edwards split a lot at the beginning of the year. I didn't even realize that. Yeah, Boyer won his first race at Vegas. Then he won the 6th race at Mr. Clean Speedway. Then he won the 13th race at Charlotte, the 14th race at Dover, the 18th race at Daytona, the 19th race at Chicagoland, the 21st race at UPS Speedway, and now the 27th race at California for his 8 wins. Yeah, it's my birthday tomorrow. I've been keeping on the DL. You have to pull some magic out of your ass. Get Boyer back next week at Richmond. Yeah, we never saw him again after he door checked us on like lap 2. Or it wasn't lap 2. It was like, man, what was it? It was like lap 3 or 4. He door checked us and we went wide, lost like 12 spots, and we never saw him again after that. And then he ended up going on to lead the most laps and win the race. I'm sure we'll see him at Richmond. That will be the next live stream. I just don't know if it'll be tomorrow or if it will be on Friday. But that will be the next race on the channel. And then we'll have a potential online lobby as well. Hit that subscribe button again. Like for more daily NASCAR content. Have a good rest of your Wednesday night, everybody. And I'll see you tomorrow.